myself again.
Hi and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. Delighted to welcome Lee Clark back to the show. How are you, Lee?
I'm good, Steve. Great to be back on it.
Yeah, great to see you, mate. And obviously you've been on your travels. That's why we haven't been able to nail you down. And certainly enjoying being away from the gloomy skies on Tyneside. You've been off on your travels. You had a job last time we spoke to you, but you decided that probably wasn't for you. I believe though you're still looking for work. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Steve. I mean, the actual job was for me. I was enjoying it in Sudan. We'd had 9 games, 6 league games, drew 1 and won 5, and we were top of the table. We beat our biggest rivals on their home ground for the first time in 12 years with a 2-0 victory against Al Hilal. So we'd gone above them in the table. We're a point clear. And it was looking great, and I was enjoying the coaching side of it. I'd had 3 games in the African Champions League, 2 draws and a loss. One of those draws against the team that eventually won the Champions League in Africa, Al Ahly, big Egyptian powerhouse equivalent to Real Madrid in the European Champions League, or a Manchester United in terms of the size and the stature of the club. They get 80,000 fans every week. So, I was really loving it, getting a great response from the players, the staff and the people, so respectful. Not a lot to do away from the football side, so basically it was just living in a hotel and prepping for games and training, and was enjoying it. But came to a decision because of an untenable relationship with the president in terms of things that were promised to us and never delivered, from the technical side of the job, in terms of bringing an assistant from the UK with me. I had an analyst from Sudan who was terrific, and I had a fitness coach from Egypt originally. He was worked in America for the last 8 years and is an outstanding fitness and sports science coach. So, but that was us. And if you compare that to Richard Formensa, who took the job at Al Hilal, our big rivals at the same time, he was one of Mourinho's old assistants. He came with an entourage from Portugal, or 7 or 8 staff members, and so that wasn't delivered what was promised. Also, training equipment that we'd asked for, that was said we could get, it was not delivered, and it was affecting what we want to try and do. We want to try and build something special for the club. The club were going to qualify for the African Champions League again because it's the top 2 in Sudan, and we wanted to be successful in that, get beyond the group stages, get to the last 16, etc. And that's what we're looking to do. And all these little bits and pieces that fall into place help you do that. And that wasn't forthcoming. And I decided to resign from the position, but with a heavy heart, because I've been treated so well there by the supporters and the players and the staff of the football club, Amerique. And so that was tough, but we thought about it in the past. I'd stayed at clubs before when things weren't right behind the scenes, and it was to the detriment of myself. And this time I wasn't going to allow that to happen, because I know there's only one person that it affects at the end of the day if the results don't go right, and that's me. So I got out when at a time when the club were top. They're now 6 points adrift in second place. They're not going to be able to win the league with only 3 games to go. I wouldn't have thought. But they've got Champions League qualification again in middle and end of September to look forward to, and I wish them all the best.
You've got a taste for working abroad, then, I think. I mean, you've done some great jobs over here. I mean, Huddersfield was an outstanding success, and if you're given the right backing, Lee, you're always going to do well. That's always what I've said. I mean, I've known you for many years anyway, but you're a great manager, great coach, and for me, I think you do well over here. But have you got itchy feet? Are you keen to get back out to somewhere like Sudan again?
What it's done, Steve, it's opened doors over in the Middle East and in Africa for me. And teams have sat up and took notice, especially our results against Hilal and Ali, like I've talked about. So I'm in conversations at the moment with clubs from various parts of the world: Morocco, Egypt, Kuwait, Algeria, you know, and people might think, oh, these are the outposts, but when you get into these football clubs and the support that they have and the people that the numbers that come in the stadiums and stuff like that, and the passion for the game, you know, is phenomenal. So that looks to be for the future for me. Really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed, you know, in the Champions League, I went to Tanzania to compete in the game, went to Congo. We went to Egypt on a training camp, you know, in these countries that I'd never ever thought about being part of or going to, and broadened my horizons. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the challenges, and also, you know, when I go back over there in the next job, you're going to have a return of the fans as well, which was obviously something with the COVID we couldn't. I mean, the team I was managing, Al Marique, we were 43,000 for league games and Champions League games when the fans were allowed. So that was something, I mean, I could only witness it. We trained at the stadium quite regular, and the fans came to watch the training, and the noise it made just for training was phenomenal. Then when we actually beat Hilal, who are not just our rivals but our neighbours, the stadiums are separated by a road. When we came out of the stadium late at night after that victory, the streets were just surrounded by Marique supporters, which was an unbelievable experience.
Sounds fantastic. I mean, you know, ultimately, you know, varieties is, you know, it's a spice of life, isn't it? And you know, getting to look at new cultures and pick up different things, and you know, I guess when the time's right, you know, you'll probably come back to the English game, and you'll be able to use all of that experience and the contacts that you've gained.
Yeah, listen, I've always been someone that wanted to do things abroad. Whether I thought Sudan would have been the choice at the time, probably not. But like I said, what's happened is it's opened new doors, it's opened new avenues for me in my career. And you know, it was daunting at first when I first took the job, and I went over, but now I've done it. I know I can go anywhere in the world and work, you know, in under any kind of circumstances. But it has to be right, you know. As I said, there wasn't really a life for us away from football in Sudan, so the football side of it had to be right. And you know, for whatever reason, you know, when we got ourselves in a strong position, the president didn't want to pursue that, didn't want to keep pushing that, and you know, it came to the inevitable part of the ways, and I made that decision.
I'm going to touch on this subject now because we did put a call out for questions with this being pre-recorded on Twitter, and I'll just read them all because they're all got slightly different twists, and you'll get an idea of where the fans are coming from. Tommy the Tank on Twitter said, why did he talk his son wanting to move away a few months before his son moved away? All of these questions are very, very similar. I'm sure his son joining Liverpool will be a hot topic.
I can answer all the questions for you, Steve. No problem, one by one. And
Jason, what were the circumstances that led to Bobby leaving? That's another one. Why did Bobby Clark go to Liverpool and leave Newcastle, says Stephen Locke. What are your thoughts on our academy and how it's run? And did Newcastle do anything to try and convince Bobby to stay, says Andy Stever. And Chris Cooper says, can you ask Lee who at the academy decides to let our best young prospects leave? And A. Burness says, was Bobby Clark happy to go to Liverpool like Steve Bruce says? Or was the offer from Newcastle so bad that he had no option? Noel the Joker says, did you have any say in Bobby leaving? Did you try to convince him to stay? I don't blame him for leaving, to be honest. So just gives you a flavour from all of those people, Lee. Fans, quite rightly, in uproar that your son, Bobby Clark, one of the most precocious young talents who has had great guidance, it has to be said, from you in his career. Very level-headed on the ground. Obviously, I've met him a couple of times as well. He's gone to a club that is progressive, that cares, and that can nurture that talent that is a homegrown Geordie talent in the right way. I personally think he'll go on to do really well. But come on, Lee, give us the inside story. What exactly happened?
Well, first of all, the first question, Steve, was about, you know, I came out and denied that, you know, he was going to go anywhere. And then a couple of months later, he has. I didn't come out and deny he was going to go anywhere. The story was written that he'd been offered to Tottenham Hotspur, and Tottenham Hotspur had refused him. He hadn't been offered to any club. There'd been no offers by anybody for my son to go to any football club. He wasn't in a position to. If anyone wanted Bobby, they had to go through the right procedure and approach Newcastle, agree a transfer fee. If that couldn't be agreed, it would go to a tribunal. If this player, my son at the time, decided he wanted to go, and that's the process. Tottenham, there was 4 clubs in for Bobby, 3 big clubs in the Premier League, and a very ambitious Championship club. And I've always been a person, and I only advise Bobby. I don't tell him what to do. And I'd always been a person that no matter where the club was or what league it was in, if someone had, had the decency to show an interest in myself, I would always show the decency back to speak to them, no matter what the position of that club was. Whether I had any intentions of signing for them, just to hear what they had to say. And, they've made an effort. And one club agreed a transfer fee. One club was told to pay a certain fee that was relevant to them valuing Bobby as important as they did. One of the other bigger clubs waited too long, and Bobby had already decided that he was going where he's ended up, to Liverpool. And the other Championship club tried to structure a deal that they could afford. And but there was only one club that agreed any figures with Newcastle. The fee was agreed very quickly. I've got to say, I was quite surprised how quickly the deal was agreed in terms of the figures. I think, but the process took a very long time, because what you then have to do, the Premier League have to do an investigation, and that investigation requires Newcastle to be interviewed, Liverpool to be interviewed, and me and Bobby's mum to be interviewed, which we had to do. Then that committee, or those people, that legal team, then put their findings to the Premier League, and the Premier League have to give it the okay. And that was confirmed, I think, Wednesday or Thursday last week. Bobby had his first training session with Liverpool in the group on Friday, and he got his first taste of match day game on the Saturday, because obviously he'd only trained one day, come on for the last 20 minutes v Watford, and scored the 5th goal in a 5-0 win against Watford. So did that have anything to do with it? I advised him. I didn't advise him in what he wanted to do. I advised him in terms of backed his decision. He decided where he was going. He decided the club. I could just give him what my thoughts were. But he's a very intelligent young man. He has his own ideas. There was no way I was going to get involved in telling them which club to go to, or whether he was wanting to stay or leave. I could only give him advice, but I was never going to push. And he came to the conclusion that Liverpool was the right club for his future. And I've got to say, since he's been there, the people at the football club, I can see why they're an elite, and I can see why they're one of the big powerhouses in European football, and one of the most well-known and biggest clubs in world football. How they go about their business, how they do things, how they treat the players, the setup, the facilities. The facilities are phenomenal. I was there at the weekend to watch the Liverpool-Chelsea game at Anfield. And then also, through a few Zoom calls, had a look around at the training facilities and spoke to Bobby about it. And it's an opportunity for him. He's going to be working with an elite group of players, with the best of the facilities in the world, and and it's up to him now. It's a hard ask, because you to get in any first team in the Premier League is tough. When you're going to one of the elite clubs, it becomes tougher. But it's a football club that gives young players a chance. As I said, I was there Saturday night, and I seen an up-and-coming superstar performing, Harvey Elliott. I actually seen one of his first ever games, and possibly his debut, when he came on for Fulham against Newcastle at Craven Cottage a couple of years ago. He made the move to Liverpool, and I watched him on the pitch there surrounded by superstars and world-class players from both sides. And he looked easy. He looked at, he's 18 years of age, and there's Jurgen Klopp, the manager, has an array of talent. You know, and he's give this young man his opportunity, which he has with other players, Curtis Jones, Nico Williams, Trent Alexander-Arnold, you know, to name but a few. The couple of centre halves. He didn't go out and you know, frantically try and buy and panic buy a centre back when Virgil van Dijk was out injured and Gomez. He gave opportunities to the young players, and I think that's what Bobby's seen. He's seen there's a pathway, and the talk from Liverpool when Bobby went there was he wasn't being signed to improve the under-18s and help them be successful in the Youth Cup. He wasn't being signed to try and improve the under-23s. He was being signed because they seen him as a future Liverpool footballer. If he went about his business and his improvement and, you know, what he learns while he's there with the standard of the coaching, there's a chance. So that was the thing that, you know, showed him. I wasn't even in the country when he started talking, you know, to them. So if he asked me questions about the clubs or whatever and about the history, I'd give him the advice, and then he made the decision. But, you know, we've seen the quotes since the transfer has happened, and you know, it seemed that everyone was happy with the outcome, and I mean everyone.
Yeah, it's sad when you see, you know, young talent leaving the club, and you know, I'm sure that I speak for everybody who you know, presents on this show and watches the show, that we'll wish him well, and you know, we just hope we don't have to pay too much to get him back in the future, Lee. That's the okay. Other questions that have come in from people, I will get to in the second half hour of the show. I just want to ask you about you know, the start of the season Newcastle have had. Obviously, you know, it's early days. You know, lack of transfers hasn't helped. People going out. I think we all agree the players who've gone, you know, won't really be missed. I think a lot of head scratching going on as to why Dwight Gale's been offered a new contract when we're not playing him anymore. But yeah, strange pre-season. You can't really say it's been overshadowed by a failed takeover, because I think most people have written that off. How do you see those opening games? What's your view?
It's been an extremely tough start, and in many different aspects. No wins, knocked out of the cup early, to a club that really, in a manager who doesn't hide the fact that whether he's competing in the Premier League or in the Championship, Sean Dyche at Burnley prioritises the league, and he's not you know, worried about coming out and saying that. So, you know, I know it was a Premier League team who played in the cup, but it wasn't their priority. They would have made changes. And by all intents and purposes, I've never seen any of the game. I've seen the penalties, but apparently it was the performance probably deserved them to go through, is what I've heard, or what the sound bites I got back listening to what the manager had to say. But ultimately, you're out at the first hurdle. The league start hasn't been ideal. That was compounded in the last game there on Saturday when you score, you know, to go 2-1 up in the 92nd, 93rd minute. You expect to go and win the game, but just seems to be at this moment in time very, very difficult to keep a clean sheet. I think that's, you know, we do seem to be conceding quite a few penalties already in this season as well, which can become a worry for the manager and his staff, because it means we're having to defend. What I was quite impressed about, certainly in the first game, and I've been saying this for a while, the strength of Newcastle United is in the attacking areas, and we've got to attack teams, and whether we've got to win by 2-1, 3-2, 4-3, 5-4 to get these high score lines to try and win, that's going to have to be the way forward, because I don't think we're very, very great or very good potentially as a defensive team. So when we go in this defensive formation and we sit back and we let the opposition have the ball, we still seem to concede. If you remember me and you speaking last year, Caldolo was man of the match on 95% of the games because he was having to make save after save after save, even though we were playing in quite a defensive formation. So now with St. Maxim and Wilson as your front two, Willock giving them the support in behind. I still think there's an issue with Almiron because we're trying to fit him in. You know, he is another number 10, basically. He'll work hard, and if you ask him to play in one of those midfield roles, he's going to do it for the good of the team, but you're not going to get the best out of him playing there in the system that we're playing with a 3-5-2 at the moment. And also what you've got is our wing backs are actually wingers. So if you remember, I think it was the penalty that was it against West Ham when Freddie Woodman saved it and they put the rebound in. Yeah. If you remember it was Matt Ritchie on the edge of the box, and his reaction was a delayed reaction. It was an attack-minded player's reaction from a save and a penalty, and that's what I'm saying. So our wing backs are predominantly wingers in their career, so they've got that attacking mindset. If that had been, say, a Paul Dummett or, you know, a full-back playing as a wing-back, a bit more of a defensive mindset, he might have been following in straight away and recovered and helped Freddie from that penalty save. So that's where we've got the problems because we're not particularly good as a defensive unit. And the strength of the team is attacking, but we're going to have to be scoring a high number of goals for us to win games, it looks like. And there seems to be a little bit of confusion in terms of if we can't bring any more players in before the window shuts, where do we need them? I think there's that many positions where it looks like we need them, but there's not the funds unless somebody goes out the door and would raise more money. There's not really much going on. So it's going to be for me, it looks like it's going to be a repeat of most of the seasons we've had in the Premier League under Mike Ashley. Unfortunately for the fans, they're going to have to sit through the ups and downs and the turmoil of another relegation battle, unfortunately. Probably not what they want to hear, but that's going to have to be the reality.
Yeah, I mean, look, we signed Willock. I mean, that was a major shock, I guess, to everybody because ultimately, I mean, Steve Bruce admitted on his interview when we signed him that they were trying to get him on loan. They were forced. The hand was forced. They've signed him and spent best part of 25 million with all the add-ons, etc. So I guess Mike Ashley will point to the purchase of Joe Willock and say, well, I have spent something.
Listen, great signing. I think the signing what everyone wanted and didn't think was going to happen. So, magnificent that they got that through the door. But Joe Willock on his own isn't going to be the difference. You know, what he achieved last season is a phenomenal return for a striker. The only other person to do it, Alan Shearer. So that tells you the company's in. For a midfield player to repeat that again would be, you're talking about, a Frank Lampard from just a couple of years ago, a Terry McDermott from years gone by. These are these players that are at the top of the tree for doing that. So, and for Joe Willock to do that in a team that are at the wrong end of the table, is even more of a phenomenal achievement. For him to repeat that again, as I said, would be absolutely mind-boggling if he was to do that again. So, the expectation has to be realistic with him. I think he's a young player. He's going to have ups and downs. I'm delighted that we've got him, but I just think the team needs more help. It needs, what my big worry about losing Wilson or St. Maxim for any period of time. Wilson's he's getting treated with, wrapping him in cotton wool. He's had to come off in a couple of games. Thigh problem. Thigh problems are really one of the worst injuries you can have because you cannot really play with that unless it's 100%. If you take any risks with a player with that type of injury, he breaks down for a thigh injury and you're thinking it affects everything you're trying to do. Explosive pace, changes of pace, normal running, striking of the ball. And it's a soft tissue injury, which I'm sure the medical team at Newcastle are frustrated with. They've had a few soft tissue injuries, probably too many over the last couple of years. And especially when your squad isn't that strong as well. You've got to try and keep everyone fit, and especially Wilson, because he's gonna be so important. You mentioned at the start of the programme about they give Dwight Gale a new contract, but the poor lad doesn't get used at all, doesn't get any minutes. Joe Linton gets used above him from the bench. It's a very strange one, that it's because I'm sure that they could have got some good money for Dwight Gale from 4 or 5 championship clubs, because he's that striker that can get over 20 goals in the championship to help the team get promoted. So when they resign him but they don't use him as often as they should, or even give him a chance to try and rectify a result that's going in the other team's favour, it just seems a bit weird to me.
Yeah, it does to me as well. And a fairly depressing transfer window for Newcastle fans. But got the signing they wanted, got Willock. Just got to hope it's going to be enough. And it's another flip of the coin by Mike Ashley. Big shout out to the sponsors. Big thank you to Spider VPN. Been with us for the last few months for all your internet security and protection. Protect those passwords and photographs. Google Spider VPN, they come up at the top of your search list. And big thank you as well to skipsandbins.com, who are with us for another month. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Emails inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free and pay as you go waste collection. And as we often joke on this programme, 2 funeral directors joined us in August. L&G Family Funeral Directors, obviously anticipating a great season ahead. 0191 389 7245. And Darren Baldwin Funerals, Independent Funeral Directors. Telephone 0191 478 2730. Email darren@darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. www.darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk is the website. Big shout out to John at qtechshop.co.uk, who runs our website. John will be in the chat as always tonight, and good luck on your recovery from COVID, mate. And Jab Signature as well, the maker of all of our flyers. First time visitor to the channel, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right hand corner. And that's it. You can subscribe for free. We are still on 7 days a week. Hit the thumb up to like the video. That helps us out. Hit the share button to share to your social media. And drop into the comments to speak to like-minded Newcastle United fans. Final shout out for this event as well. Your last chance to buy tickets on Newcastle Legends website. And we also have a couple which we just announced. An evening with Gavin Peacock. He will be in Newcastle for the Chelsea game. So we're going to do a talk in with him at the Irish Centre. NewcastleLegends.com for your tickets for that. And our food bank, NUFC Matters Christmas Do from 2020 is being confirmed. November the 19th, 7 o'clock. Tickets £12. All proceeds going to the food bank. Supermarket's going to come along and do a Q&A on the night. And all kinds of people will be there from the NUFC Matters team. And last but by no means least, give @Protest NUFC a follow on Twitter. They, of course, are having their meeting Thursday night, 7 o'clock at the Irish Centre. They are pulling together, basically a few ideas from supporters. I'm hoping to get there myself. They just want transparency for fans, and good luck to those guys. Give them a follow on Twitter. Okay, we're going to come to your questions on Twitter now. Dan Harrison was in early. He just says, can you ask Lee why nobody at all in the media questions the dreadful, shambolic running of the club? It would be interesting to get his views on that.
I think it's a reasonable question. I think the fans are being kept in the dark on a lot of things. The running of the club from the top. I mean, there's nothing really. There's nothing comes from anybody at the top, whether that be Mike Ashley or Lee Charnley. They never speak about what the plans for the club are going forward. Is there a plan? Etc. etc. I think the only person who ever faces the media is the manager, and it's hard enough being a manager. It's hard enough being manager of Newcastle United with you having to then be the mouthpiece for the whole club and talk about other aspects, i.e., budgets, transfers, what you're looking for in terms of any planning for the future windows. I think it seems to be a very difficult club where because I know that clubs, even though we're coming to the end of the window here tonight, when we're recording this, I bet you they're already planning for the January window and also next summer's. I'm not sure if that can happen with Newcastle because of the way that they go about their business. And the most important people at the football club, the supporters, don't seem to get a lot of information about what the future holds.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worst thing. Communication is one of the easiest things you can do as a football club, and there's a complete lack of it. And that's been a problem for a long time. It's not just a modern thing. It's it's something that the club have been accused of. But thanks for the question, Dan. Joe Walker says, Clarky, you get the job at Newcastle tomorrow. What would be the very first thing you would change? And I'm not sure whether he wants you as the owner or as the manager, but what would you change if you came in to Newcastle United, Lee?
Well, I've dreamt loads of times that I've won the Euro Millions, and it's the biggest purse I could win. So I wouldn't be I know it doesn't get to 300 million, so I wouldn't be the sole owner, but I could put a few quid of that into the club, and I could have a big say in what was going on. And the first thing I would be doing would be bringing the important people back at the football club. So the head of everything would be Kevin Keegan. He would be the Pied Piper, because that's what he is. He brings the fans back. Anything he touches, everyone wants to be a part of. Whether if he wanted to become the chairman or a director of football or just the head of the operations, that would be first. I'd be looking to, get Alan Shearer's back. Les Ferdinand is already working as a director of football. And one that I've thought of, for me, to being a mentor and being someone who could change the face of the youth policy in the academy, I would bring in David Ginola to oversee that. Now, whether David would want to be a coach on the grass and take a team, or whether he would want to just oversee everything and bring the people in. And then what I would do in every age group, I would have at least one of the coaches who've been part of the football club and have been, a first team player of the football club and have experienced the challenges both of the expectation of the fans, understand what it means to wear the shirt, understand what the badge means, understands what the supporters give up, and what the club means to them. And that would be my remit. And then, with the core of the, when you talk about the spine of the team, you talk about the spine of the staff, then having an affinity with the club, having the love of the club, having the heart and the importance of the club. But listen, when I talk about the staffing as well, the coach, it doesn't mean that you just go and say, oh, you're an ex-player, you can come in as a coach. They've got to want to be a coach. They've got to want to develop players. They've got to want to love coaching, love being on the grass. They've got to work hard to get that coaching badges and stuff like that. That has to be in them. You just don't go, oh, you get welcomed in because they're an ex-Newcastle United person or whatever. That has to be hand in hand. And I know there's people from outside the club who can be successful, but I just believe that this is one of those special northern clubs that you need to have been a part of it to realise what it's about and understand what it's about, and just restructure it. If I was the manager, as I said, I would have to base the team around the attacking players that I had, have to do loads of work in the defensive side to try and make sure that that we can try and keep clean sheets. But obviously the team, the squad that's there at the moment, the strength is in the attacking areas, and try and get a formation that fits everybody in, and get the best players on the pitch in those attacking positions. And that's what I try and do. And in every game, just go out to try and win. Because, as I said, I don't believe, even when we have the defensive mindset and defensive formation, it stands in good stead. We don't often keep clean sheets. So, let's get out there and try and take our opponent on and win as many games as we can. And
Yeah,
then
100%.
if I was the owner or the manager, first thing I'd do, I'd be asking, right, who's going to take responsibility for the Joe Linton signing? Because there's someone inside that club who's ducking and diving for fun at the moment, by the way.
100%. Hey, you got an assist. You got an assist on Saturday.
All right, great. You don't get much for 40 mil, eh?
No,
One
you don't,
assist.
mate. Not in this day and age. I thought you might have said you would have brought Tino in as social manager.
Hey, there's a position for Tino if he wants it. If I'm lucky enough to win that Euro Millions, if Faustino wants to come back, he's more than welcome. No danger.
Great stuff. Okay, Frankie, he says if we could sign, and I know this is going out after the transfer window, but it would still be apparent for the next one. If we could sign a realistic striker to possibly be backup for Callum Wilson, who would you bring in? Because Gale just isn't good enough.
All right. To be backup, well, that's where your problem lies. If you're trying to sign someone to be backup, they don't and if he's a top striker, he ain't going to be coming to be a backup. So, you're going to be looking for an up and coming one from the lower leagues. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I look at what Villa have done with Danny Ings. I mean, that was a terrific signing. You get another one like him. You play him. You play the two of them together. You play St. Maxim in a free role, number 10. Just letting him roam around the pitch and go cause havoc on the left, on the right, in behind the strikers, feeding those two. Or do you play in a flat 4-4-2? Which obviously then you leave yourself open in the middle of the pitch, but you've got St. Maximum out wide, you've got Wilson and Ings. I mean, he would have been perfect, for me. Is those type of players. It's a tough one, but I don't think you get the type of striker you want if you're just going to put it to him that he's going to be the backup for Callum Wilson, that's for sure.
Yeah, Stuart Taylor says, what do you feel about the balance of our squad and how would you change it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's where we've got the problem. Certainly in the formation that Steve's working with in the 3-5-2 at the moment. He's got obviously the problem in terms of Almiron. You're not playing in his most productive position. You're not getting 100% the best. He's doing all right because he's got the heart of a lion. He'll never stop running. You ask him to play a centre half, he'd try his utmost. He'd try and compete for headers. He'd be working so hard. He looks like a boy who loves his football, and every time he goes out on the pitch, he gives absolutely everything. But I just don't think you get the best out of him, and it's not probably suiting the team to have him there with him being more of an attack-minded player, especially when you've got the attack-minded wing-backs. That dilemma you've got is Steve's getting the best. St. Maxim and Wilson have proved a very fruitful partnership, and they're combining well together, both in scoring themselves and in assists, etc. So you don't want to split that partnership up, but you go to a little bit more of a different system. He obviously isn't very happy with what's going on in central midfield because he gets linked with every central midfield player that's becoming available. He's obviously brought Willock in to break those lines from midfield and get goals from midfield to help with the burden with Wilson. So I think it's trying to get the balance right. I think we are a bit unbalanced in terms of having that system. I think he feels best that Richie and Murphy are giving them the best opportunities as wing backs. Rather than Manquillo or whoever. I know he would have liked another left back to have come in. There was talk of that, but it's a difficult one. I think he's got to find a system that allows the front players to keep flourishing because that's the only way we're going to get the points. When, as I said, when we're not the greatest defensively, and even when we're playing a defensive formation, we do seem to concede. Our goalkeepers are the outstanding players, so it's a real tough one.
Craig Irvin says Bruce has been given one player this transfer window. We saw Benitez walk away due to lack of investment and ambition from the club. Could you ever see Steve Bruce walking away from Newcastle for the same reasons?
I'd like to think if Steve isn't happy with what hand he's been dealt, I think any manager, as I said, when we're talking about my own personal situation, I had to do that. I mean, there's a couple of times where I've stayed and to the detriment of myself when owners haven't given us the help that's required to make the team successful. And that was a tough learning curve for me, tough experience. And one that I would never allow to happen again. And I think Steve's obviously a lot more experienced than me. And if he isn't happy with the hand he's been dealt after the window closes, he should make the same decision as what Rafa did.
Alan Mateus says, if we got the takeover and had new owners that wanted to base the club staff on ex-players, who would you appoint as director of football? Would that be Keegan, who you mentioned earlier, or would you have him more as an ambassador?
I would have Kevin more on a boardroom level in terms of directing operations, in terms of financial stuff, in terms of sponsorship. He's, as I said, he's the Pied Piper. He could attract all the top companies into the football club. He could help with the operations of the football side. He could be a voice and a mentor and a shoulder to lean on for whoever was the manager. Because he's been there, seen it, done it. He's obviously a very intellectual and high profile businessman as well. He's one of the first footballers to become very successful off the pitch as well. Director of football, I think, you'd look no further than someone being linked with the club and having a great affinity with the club, who's doing a terrific job already at QPR, and Les Ferdinand. So he has the experience of that role. You're not just putting him in it because of he's, how high profile he is and how popular he is. He's doing a terrific role at QPR. He's changed things around there. So they'd be the people I'd be looking at. They'd be, in the main positions, chairman, director of football, manager, head coach, and director of academy. You'd want high profile people who could do the job, be terrific examples, people who could make big decisions and try and improve those areas of the club. And that would be the spine of your club. And then all the rest of it, you can be filling in with various other people.
Yeah, okay. Next question comes from, bear with us, I'm just scrolling down the questions. Derek Peverley, he says, who gave you the nickname Jigsaw?
I've never had a nickname Jigsaw. That was just something that Barry Venison and Paul Bracewell mentioned in one interview. But I've never been acknowledged or called Jigsaw. I never respond to that name. So
did you have a nickname, Lee?
It's not something. Just Nash. Nash is very well known.
And where was that? Where was that from? And who gave you that?
That was from Terry McDermott. Just not long after he came, and we were on a away trip. That just says, Terry, can you make sure the bus doesn't go? I forgot something. I need to Nash home. And he's like, what does Nash mean? And then I need to get home quickly. A lot of people thought it was Nasha the dog from
from the Beano.
Aye. That was it.
You touched on Terry Mack there. Terrible news in the last last week or so. And we're hearing a lot of this about ex-players, aren't we, with dementia?
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, it's a real tough one for me, because Terry's a personal friend of mine. His family and my family are very, very close. I have a strong affinity with him, but he's in great spirits. Since the announcement was made a couple of weeks ago, I've been out with him a couple of nights for a few beers. He was down at the Liverpool-Chelsea game with him. He's still doing his ambassadorial stuff for Liverpool. And he's still in great spirits. He just wanted to know and let the public know who adore him, both in the Northeast and in the Northwest and all around the country. I think that's been the great thing, the response to it. Terry's news has been phenomenal, and he's been gobsmacked by the response. I'm not surprised. I used to always say to him, he was too humble, even when he was my assistant at Huddersfield and Birmingham. You know, he never let those young players, they didn't realise who they were dealing with. They didn't realise how special he football I was and what he'd achieved in his career, because he's not someone who shouted from the rooftops. And but he's, you know, he's in great personal spirits. It's obviously a tough one because there's lots of players and ex-players from Terry's sort of era who've come out and have this illness. But as I said, he's still loving a laugh and a joke, and he's still getting out there, and but real positive and being absolutely buzzing by the kind words and messages that he's had.
Yeah, wish him well, as always. Gallagher Gaz says, would you sell ASM for 60 million and reinvest all of the money into a state-of-the-art training centre like Liverpool's?
Into a state-of-the-art what, sorry?
Training centre like Liverpool's.
No, I would never sacrifice my best player just to facilitate a training facility. We've got to know now who can afford that. It's not a lot of money in the context of things. You don't sacrifice your best player, the player who the fans are loving to see and loving to watch, and the one who they probably get excited before kick-off. You don't sacrifice that. And to be honest with you, in the market we're in today, 60 million ain't enough for them. But I certainly wouldn't be selling them just to build training facilities. I don't think we need to spend 60 million. I think it can come for a lot cheaper than that. Both the academy and the first team centre being redeveloped and brought up to the 21st century wouldn't need 60 million. But I wouldn't certainly be sacrificing our best player to do that.
Okay, Andrew Graham says, does Lee ever think we'll get back to being a top 6 club, even with a new owner?
Of course I do, because I was part, you've got to realise I was around before the Magpie Group and Sir John bought all those shares. So I was around when all those local businessmen, George Forbes, Gordon McKee, Stan Seymour, were involved, just local businessmen who didn't have the funds to take the club to the next level. Even the demands of the supporters. So I was part of that. And who would have thought within a 18-month, the transformation when Sir John Hall took over, stopping the club getting relegated to then would have been League One from the Championship, and then winning the Championship and then challenging the Premier League big boys and getting into Europe. So, of course, I've been part of it. I've been in and around it, and it can happen. And it's possible. It won't happen overnight. I mean, because the funds and the money that's involved nowadays in terms of the top clubs and the size of the squads. I mean, I'm looking at that game I was at on Saturday, Liverpool-Chelsea, and Firmino has to come off and Diego Jota replaces him. Thiago has won every available trophy in Europe and in world football. He's coming on to replace players, and these are the replacements. You talk about judging your team. That's how you judge your team, what you've got on the bench. Are you got game changers on the bench? And so that, and obviously the plans we've already mentioned about the infrastructure of the club would take a while to get up to date, but it can happen, and it can happen so quickly. If you get on that run and that momentum, things can happen so quickly in football.
Bellringer wants to know what you or who you blame for the current shocking possession stats in every Premier League game that we play, especially home games. I mean, again, 36% against Southampton at home. Has that got something to do with the way we're set up, do you think?
Well, I think we've been low on possession when we've played a 4-2-3-1. We've been low on possession when we've played a 3-5-2. When we've played a 3-4-3, I think whenever formation we've played over the last 18 months to 2 years, we've been really low on possession stats. So maybe is that why the manager keeps looking for new midfield players? I don't know, because obviously that's the part of the team that keeps possession of the football, and that's the area of the team that can dominate games for you in terms of being on the front foot, especially at home. You know, where you want to be at St James's, you want to be playing front foot football, so you're picking up second balls and you keep supplying your attacking players with the ball on a regular basis and allowing them to have the freedom and create chances. So it'll always be a problem. That's why I'm saying, you know, it's a difficult shout, because I'm saying my best players are in the attacking part of the field. We want to get the ball to them as quickly as we can, but with quality, to create as many opportunities as we can, because, you know, it's going to be difficult, certainly on the evidence I've seen so far this season, for us to keep clean sheets.
Certainly going to be hard to keep a clean sheet in my next game. Manchester United away, and got to touch on transfers because we don't see many at Newcastle these days. But Cristiano Ronaldo going back to Man United, was that a surprise?
It was again, because at all intents and purposes, he looked like he was going to Man City, and it looked like the deal was completed. But bang, Man United couldn't allow that. And what a player! Still a phenomenal player. People talk he's 36. His recovery, what he does, he's worked behind the scenes. He's obviously got a ridiculous personal wealth, but what he uses that wealth for as well as his well-being, his own personal chef, his own personal masseurs, his own recovery, cryo chambers, his gymnasium, you know, the saunas, the swimming pools, what he goes through after games to get the recovery right, so he's prepped for the next. You've seen the shape he's in. Top scorer on Serie A last season, top scorer on the Euros. Reinvented himself as an out-and-out striker. Still got a ridiculous leap. Still got a great change of pace, even though he's not as electric as he was in his heyday. But one of the best football players there's ever been, and will come back and be fantastic again for Manchester United. What a player to walk in that dressing room. What an example. Won everything that, you know, you can win in the game, both personally and as a team player. And what an example of how to do things, how to behave on and off the pitch, what it takes to be a winner, what it takes to be the best. And unfortunately for Newcastle, which always seems to be the case, they could be on the receiving end when he makes his debut. That's because that's going to be electric, Old Trafford, and he's going to be ready to put his stamp on things straight away. And with those young players he's going to have around him, Greenwood and Rashford, those type of players, Sancho, forget about him. Wow, they're going to be learning from the master, and it could be a tough afternoon for Newcastle.
Yeah, I've got my ticket. Although the temptation might be to sell it, I can imagine they'll go for a few grand. Man United fans wanting to get into that game, I might reconsider. No, I want to go. Obviously, I want to go down and see it. It'll be a great footballing occasion. A couple of other things before we're finished. I mean, goalkeeping situation. As you know, obviously long COVID for Carl Darlow. A long-term injury for Dubravka has kept him out at the start of the season. Has meant that we've, by default, Freddie Woodman has become our first choice goalkeeper. It also makes it rather difficult for Steve Bruce. He's going to have to name 4 keepers in his 25-man squad. But how have you felt Woodman's played in the opening games?
I obviously know Fred very well, given me an opportunity at Kilmarnock on loan when I was the manager there. Always held him in high regard. I think he's an exceptional young keeper. He's been thrown in at the deep end. As I said, the defensive side of the team isn't the strongest part, so the keepers always seem to be kept busy. He's made some very good saves. He's a keeper that I think a lot of fans will see. He's not one who wants to come crosses. He wants his defenders to deal with that. And I think once defenders know that, whether the keeper comes for crosses or whether he doesn't, if a defender knows what the keeper's going to do, they can act accordingly to that. So I think the defenders will know that isn't Freddie's mainstay of his game. You know, he's shot stopping. He's made some terrific ones. He's made had to face penalties in most games. And as I said, I wouldn't point the finger at any of the goals at him. It's unfortunate. It's another problem for Steve. because he can't get round it, it looks like he's going to have to name the 4 goalkeepers in his squad, which probably means he's restricted in his outfield numbers, which is another problem for him. But obviously, Dubravka's having complications with his injury, with the infection, and as you said, Darlow, unfortunately, and we hope he's well, and because, touch wood, I've never obviously had the COVID, problems, but it seems to have struck him really badly. So, he could be out for a little while longer as well. And so, unfortunately, Steve has to name all 4 with Gillespie and Woodman in his squad, which means it outs a couple of outfield players.
Yeah, definitely is. Okay, coming up to the last couple of minutes, we've got another question in from Tom Dixon. He just wants to know, is it hard being a football manager, Lee?
Very. and times it's not a nice place to be. It's lonely when you're not getting results. Since the concept of social media as well, it's brutal. It can get very personal, very hurtful against you and your family. No manager goes out not to get results. They want to be the best manager they can be. They want to win every single game. And as I've said, it's very, very tough. When we talked about it at the start of the show about me going abroad, I think it's helped me, in terms of that as well. It's just gives a new perspective on the coaching side of it and trying to improve players, because you might get a bit more time, and the clubs you're working at, they see that you're improving the players, and you might have a chance where you could sell some of those players back into Europe and make the club some profits. That that's another string to your bow there. But in England, the demand's huge, not just in the Premier League, outside of the Premier League, and unfortunately, the managers don't get a lot of time, and it can be really, really tough and lonely place. But we all know what the job's about. We keep going back to it. It's like a drug. You miss that adrenaline rush. You miss being part of a group, and you see it's the next best thing to play. And it is. It's nothing like playing. Playing, you are just looking after yourself. When you're the manager, you've got 25, 30 players, and you can only keep 11 happy at any one time. And it's trying to keep those other lads in tune and ready. So they keep putting the pressure on the lads who are lucky enough to be in the team, and you get all different types of problems come with that as well.
Okay, put you on the spot, Lee. Newcastle United season has kicked off. Where do you see them finishing?
Unfortunately, I see another common theme. I see another season of fighting relegation. I see another season of looking over our shoulders. I see another season of worrying about other teams' results coming to the end of the season, which has proved to be the norm under Mike Ashley, with the exception of 1 or 2 seasons. And I think be prepared, be ready for that. The one good thing I've loved in the last few weeks is having the supporters back. Must be an unbelievable feeling for some of the players at St James's who've never experienced that, having that phenomenal support. But the fans are going to be so crucial all the time. That they're the most important people at the club. But this season, once again, it's going to be up to them to be that 12th man to try and help the club stay in the division. I'm feeling, because I think the early part of the season tells me that it's going to be another tough one for us.
Yeah, I would agree. A couple of people asking, if you could name your favourite 1 to 11, but we actually do a thing on NUFC Matters, do a show called Dream Team. So I might set that up with you, Lee, if you're up for it. Maybe pick your all-time favourite Newcastle team. Not necessarily people you played with, but people who you loved watching as well as a supporter. So I'll give you a shout, and maybe we can record that for some week, you know what I mean?
Definitely, be up for that. That would be very
all
nice.
Right. Great stuff, mate. Well, pass on your best to Bobby. Love to the family, and good luck with your job hunting, mate. Look forward to catching up with you again soon. Take care. Thanks for your time, Lee.
Thanks, Steve. Cheers. Well.
critics are tired.